This is the unnamed Uzbek man Russia says has confessed to planting and detonating a bomb which killed top general Igor Kirillov. Russia's investigative committee said on Wednesday the suspect told them he came to Moscow to carry out an assignment for Ukraine's intelligence services. A video of his confession was published by the Baza news outlet, which is known to have sources in Russian law enforcement circles. It was not clear what conditions he was speaking under, and Reuters could not immediately verify the video's authenticity. Kirillov, Russia's chief of nuclear, biological and chemical protection troops, was killed outside his apartment building on Tuesday, along with his assistant, when a bomb hidden in an electric scooter went off. Ukraine's SBU intelligence service took responsibility for the killing. Kirillov is the most senior Russian military officer to be assassinated in Russia by Ukraine. Ukraine accused him of being responsible for the use of chemical weapons against Ukrainian troops, something Moscow denies. Maria Zakharova, a spokeswoman for Russia's foreign ministry, said Moscow would raise the assassination at a session of the United Nations Security Council on December 20. Everyone involved in the killing would be found and punished, and Moscow would not be intimidated, she said.
The head of the Syrian National Coalition called on Wednesday for a credible transitional government for the country. Hadi al-Barra, who leads the coalition that grouped opponents of Bashar al-Assad during the civil war, was speaking to reporters at a briefing in Turkey. He said the government should also not exclude any Syrian party or be based on sectarianism.
So I call on all of you to support the current caretaker government in Syria, which is supposed to finish its duties by the beginning of March. Then after March, a transitional government will be formed with the accord of Syrians.
In a seismic moment for the Middle East, Syrian rebels seized control of Damascus on December the 8th, forcing Assad to flee after more than 13 years of civil war and ending his family's decades-long rule. The lightning offensive raised questions over whether the rebels will be able to ensure an orderly transition. Al-Barra said his group had not met rebel leader Ahmad al-Shara, better known as Abu Muhammad al-Golani. But he said they had communications with the caretaker government and parties close to al-Shara. The United Nations Special Envoy to Syria echoed calls for an inclusive administration as he left Damascus on Wednesday. Geir Pedersen had been in the capital city since Sunday for talks aimed at addressing the challenges facing the war-torn country.
It's early days, but I think it's important to say that there is a lot of hope that we can now see the beginning of a new Syria. A new Syria that, in line with Security Council Resolution 2254, will adopt a new constitution that will ensure that it is a social contract, a new social contract for all Syrians.
Pedersen also said the UN has offered the new leaders help, adding that the country needs immediate humanitarian assistance.
Donald Trump on Wednesday pressured his fellow Republicans in Congress to reject a stopgap bill that would prevent a government shutdown. The president-elect's intervention disrupts a bipartisan effort to keep the government funded past the end of the week. Trump instead urged Congress to pass legislation that would raise the debt ceiling, a politically difficult task. He also said lawmakers should strip out elements backed by Democrats, whose support would be necessary for passage. He warned that Republicans who vote for the current package could have trouble getting reelected, writing, quote, "Any Republican that would be so stupid as to do this should and will be primaried." Trump ally billionaire Elon Musk chimed in as well, pressuring Congress to reject the bill and saying that those who back it should be voted out of office. Musk spent more than $250 million to help Trump get elected and has been tasked by Trump to prune the federal budget. Right now, the bill would fund government agencies at current levels and provide $100 billion for disaster relief and $10 billion in farm aid. It also includes a wide range of unrelated provisions, such as a pay raise for lawmakers and a crackdown on hidden hotel fees. It does not cover benefit programs like Social Security, which continue automatically. Trump said Congress should limit the bill to temporary spending and disaster relief and also raise the government's borrowing authority. The next steps for Congress were unclear as of Wednesday night. However, a shutdown at this time would disrupt a wide range of services, from air travel to law enforcement, and the days leading up to the Christmas holiday.
Mayotte was already struggling with overcrowding, illness and poverty before the devastating cyclone Chido swept through the French region. But these problems are now being compounded in what one French senator called an abandoned territory. Rights groups have long accused Paris of turning its back on overseas departments, leaving them with little protection when natural disasters strike. Nizar Hassani, a Mayotte resident, urges President Emmanuel Macron to take bold action.
We don't need the president to come and tell us that he loves us. We do not need a declaration of love. We need gestures of love. We need to see that France will not cast Mayotte aside. Mayotte is a poor territory that is also full of resources, but we have a sick economy.
Colonized in 1843, Mayotte is now France's poorest overseas territory. The majority of the population on the Indian Ocean archipelago today live below the national poverty rate. The situation is made more difficult by uncertainty around Mayotte's exact population. While official statistics put it at 321,000, many believe it's much higher due to undocumented immigration. Illegal immigration from the Comoros Islands has fueled anger among residents over crime, inflation and stretched public services. The government is also unable to give an accurate death tally days after the storm. Officials say hundreds or even thousands could be dead. Climate change has made the territory more vulnerable when powerful cyclones hit vital infrastructure, like its port and airport, according to France's strategy plan for the island. The French Development Agency says rising temperatures have already caused droughts that were exacerbating a chronic lack of fresh water. Last year, a drought forced the government to freeze the price of water in shops and send bottles of it to thirsty residents. Hassani says he's worried that people will start eating defrosted goods and drinking contaminated water, which may lead to illness, adding pressure to Mayotte's already embattled health system.
NASA says that 2 of its astronauts on the International Space Station won't be able to return to Earth until at least late March. That will bring what was expected to be an 8-day stay to 9 months. Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore traveled to the ISS in June for a test mission, but their return was delayed to early 2025. The Boeing Starliner capsule they arrived on was deemed unfit to return them to Earth.
Welcome to the International Space Station.
In the meantime, they have welcomed new spacefarers to the ISS and pushed through challenging times.
It was trying at times. There were some tough times all the way through.
I miss my 2 dogs. I miss my friends. But you know what? Like Butch said, there are so many people on Earth that are sending us messages, and it makes you feel just right at home with everybody when we're able to have those conversations with our friends and family at home.
Now NASA says they will have to wait still a while longer as teams complete processing on a spacecraft for the 4-person crew that will replace them on board the ISS. The agency did not specify a date for the return party, which will include Williams and Wilmore, as well as another NASA astronaut and a Russian cosmonaut who arrived over 3 months after them. Erica Hamden is the director of the University of Arizona Space Institute. She says these delays aren't as unusual as people may think.
It's actually like very ordinary. It's just the fact that these are like 2 astronauts that are stuck in space that people are like, they're delayed even longer. And like, it's just like icing on the cake.
Hamden anticipates that already embattled plane maker Boeing will face heightened scrutiny for future launches. And a positive Hamden sees coming out of the ordeal for Williams and Wilmore: bragging rights.
One of the things astronauts talk about is how many days, hours, minutes they spent in space. So these 2 are going to have a lot to brag about.